Right from inception, human being has been endeavoring, striving to be happy, to be more satisfied, have more fulfilling life, to achieve more, but probably he has taken the means, materialism, as the main focus. He always thought more possessions, more money, higher titles will give him the happiness and the satisfaction in life. But it has been and experienced and seen, it's a great fallacy. This is not something which will give you satisfaction, and this is not the purpose of life. What gives you satisfaction in life is the balance. The balance between the material life and the spiritual life. Next. Before that, I would like to give you a little idea as to misconception on spiritual journey. The moment I said there is a balance between materialism and spiritualism, a lot of people feel or have been feeling that once you take the spiritual journey or the spiritual path or the pursuit for that, you have to renounce the world. You have to move out to jungles, to the mountains and pray, meditate, and you have nothing to do with the world, the materialistic world and the family. It is not really so. Let's take the example of Shri Krishna, let's take the example of Shri Ram and certain others. Are they less evolved? I think there could be nobody who is more evolved than Shri Ram and Shri Krishna, and for that matter Guru Nanak, or for that matter anybody else. They never left their families, they were living with the families and performing their duties, and very much they were on the spiritual path all through and attained highest levels of spirituality. Today, gentlemen, unfortunately, we are driven by our egos and we are driven by our fears. These are the two enemies within us, which is leading us to fierce competition. We are into the competitiveness with one another, into the rat race, and that causes stress, and we are intolerant towards other people, and the fear of uncertainty, fear of not having enough tomorrow leads us to accumulation and leads us to corruption and what have you. And this leads us ultimately to corruption, corrosion of values, characters, decline in the moral, social value, fiber, and absence of higher ideals, loss of peace, tranquility, addiction to drugs and intoxicants, and ultimately the conflict, strife, and discord. Are we willing to live in this kind of situation? I would now like to bring out one more point, that is it today that we are facing this? It's been always like this. Human being has always been facing all these things. You too, Brutus, Prithviraj Chauhan, Akbar, anybody, see Alexander, you see all these people who have lived great lives, but there have been problems, there have been betrayal. The Jesus himself faced betrayal. So a human being has always been driven by ego, driven by fear, driven by greed, but they have been devising methods of living peacefully and happily and leading their life better. Today also there is a need to lead life peacefully and be happy and be more fulfilling in our entire endeavor. So what do we need to do for that? Let's look at a couple of definitions. Firstly, since I'm going to talk of spiritual intelligence, so let's talk of intelligence first of all. There are three parts to it: the nature, nurture, and the results. The nature is the inherent potential, innate potential that a person is born with. A person may be born to be a musician, but if the adequate resources are not given, or adequate attention is not given, or adequate facility is not given, he may not be a musician. Therefore, there is a necessity for nurturing that, for putting in effort for that, and then only you can get the results or achieve those expertise that you want to attain in a particular field. So, intelligence would mean inherent potential, and this is to be given effort, and ultimately you achieve the results. Spirituality. Any number of definitions can be given for spirituality. But basically, what Cindy Wigglesworth says, she says that it is the innate human need to be connected to somebody larger than him. This could be God, this could be innate force, this could be somebody higher than him and including your own higher self. And this desire of connecting yourself to somebody higher than you is across all faiths, across all traditions. It is not confined to a particular sect. Coming to religion, basically the beliefs and the practices which are based on certain texts, sacred ones, and followed by a particular community. Intelligences. Gardner, in his research, worked on 9 intelligences, starting from bodily kinestetics, logical, mathematical, linguistic to existentialism. There are 9 intelligences he has worked on. Ultimately, if you see, but then there is a hierarchy of all these intelligences, reduced to 4. The PQ, the physical intelligence, the physical quotient, IQ, EQ, that is the emotional intelligence, and the SQ, the spiritual intelligence. As per Dana Zohar, she says that all the infinite intelligences might be there, but they are all ultimately converging to or associated with 3 intelligences, that is IQ, EQ, and SQ. Rational intelligence was discovered in the 20th century and put to use. It was basically the rational, logical, rule-bound, problem-solving ability, the intelligence, and tested by standard Binet intelligence scales. Earlier, people believed that a person who is rationally intelligent, or this was the only IQ known at that time, people felt that a person good in this will be able to get a good job, will be able to succeed in life and do well in life. But subsequently, it was seen that it is not really so. There is something else which matters in the 2 people with the same IQ, one rising, another not rising, and that was emotional intelligence brought by Daniel Goleman. He said that it is managing emotions of yourself and somebody else's, other people, and this is a basic requirement which, if used, gives you the effective utility of the IQ of a person. Gardner said that 80% of the success of a person comes from effective utilization of IQ and the EQ. Now there are 4 quadrants, as you see over here. The top left, high IQ, low EQ, and the bottom, low IQ and the high EQ. Which one would you prefer if you have to employ him? Definitely a person who has got high EQ and a low EQ. You have to choose between the 2. Ideally, it's high IQ and the high EQ, but then if one has to choose between the 2, it is high EQ which matters more than the IQ. Let us now talk of the third intelligence, that is the spiritual intelligence. So people still felt that people rose to very high ranks with the utilization of their IQ and the EQ, but they were still not satisfied, not happy, feeling that there was something missing in their life, and this was brought about by the third Q, contributed by Dana Zohar and other authors. This is the ultimate intelligence that a person is endowed with. This is a necessary foundation for effective functioning of IQ and the EQ, and full picture of a human intelligence can only be drawn once he is endowed with high SI, that is spiritual intelligence. As for Cindy, she says, this is the ability to behave, the spiritual intelligence is the ability to behave with wisdom and compassion. Now these are 2 pillars. These are 2 pillars, and if utilized properly, inner and the outer peace can be maintained. This spiritual intelligence, once you endow, needs to be shown but through behavior and action. And SI, that is spiritual intelligence, purely emanates from love. This is basically a set of skills. A person is born spiritual, but he is not spiritually intelligent. As we had seen in the definition of intelligence, that the innate nature of a person, innate potential that he has got, this needs to be nurtured. And unless you develop spiritual intelligence, it cannot be shown, manifested, and for that you need to work at it and practice a while for this. Let's look at how it is located. Emotional intelligence is in the right hemisphere of the brain. IQ is in the left hemisphere of the brain, and SQ is all around the brain. We are actually wired for all the three intelligences. That is the IQ, EQ and the SQ. While other can be developed easily, SQ takes a longer time to develop. SQ circuitry is normally dormant and undeveloped. You require consciousness to use it. You may experience certain good moments, spiritually enriching experiences once in a while in a sporadic manner, but if you want to experience spiritual enrichment more often and the experiences more often, then there is a requirement of activating your SQ intentionally, and this is your personal resource. Now, as I was saying, the EQ on the right side of the brain has a method of processing the intelligence, the emotional intelligence. It is processed in a parallel manner with associative patterns. Say somebody is going and he gets to smell a particular perfume. He'll immediately recall where he had seen or sensed such perfume earlier, and he will relate to that incident. This is about the emotional intelligences at play. But IQ, on the contrary, is processed serially on the left of the brain, whereas SQ, this is processed in a synchronous manner, synchronizing left and the right hemisphere of the brain. Now there are various areas where IQ and the EQ and the SQ operate from. All the cues, all the intelligences can function separately, or they can function together. You would have seen a person has high IQ but low EQ and the low SQ. A person has very high EQ but low IQ and the low SQ. So it depends as to what has been developed or nurtured more in a particular person. But happy news is that emotional intelligence as well as spiritual intelligence can be developed by working on it. When we talk of developing it, there are stages of developing it. First is the PQ, the physical intelligence, or the PQ, the physical quotient. Then developed is the IQ, subsequently EQ, and then the SQ. For SQ to develop, you need to have self-awareness and reflective capacity. Once you have a little EQ developed, SQ starts to develop, and once you have SQ developed a little bit more, and then you have the EQ developing more. So there is a virtuous cycle. Emotional and the SQ are developed with support of each other. And once the SQ is developed, your compassion is inherently developed, and which is higher than empathy. What is interestingly seen is that SQ supports PQ, IQ and EQ, all three, and it underpins these. Once you have the spiritual intelligence developed, then most important enemy of the human beings, the ego, is reduced to humility, transformed to humility. The fear transforms to courage, and likewise there are 24 values which are listed over here which begin to manifest in your day-to-day routine. This has been brought out by Tony Buzan. Right. Another issue normally mistaken is, the moment we talk of spirituality, people begin to feel that it has got something to do with religion. Well, it is not really so. SQ has no necessary connection with religion. SQ may find expression through the formal religion. Being religious doesn't guarantee SQ. Many humanists and atheists, they have very high SQ, but they do not believe in any religion. Now, what I would like to say at the end of it is that spirituality is necessary for religion, but religion is not necessary for spirituality. Jana Zohar, in a book, Ultimate Intelligence, that's spiritual intelligence, she says, computers have high IQ, some animals have high EQ, but both IQ and the EQ displayed by the computer and the animals is within a particular situation. They try to find a solution within that situation. But human beings, when they are endowed and when SQ is activated, they are able to change the rules and alter situations. They begin to ask as to why are they in this particular situation? Can they be in a better situation? How can the situation alter? That means they begin to play beyond the boundaries and not only remain within the boundaries to find answers. They get the capability to discriminate in the situations and the systems. And they draw a balance between rules and the compassion. Say, there is a person who comes at the ticket window at 1 o'clock when it's a lunch break. A spiritually enriched person will attend to him and then go for lunch break. Because he's taking compassion, he's showing compassion to the person because he feels he's the last passenger to buy the ticket, so let me dispose him off. Whereas a person who is not endowed with high SQ will say, okay, it's lunchtime now, I proceed, the window is shut. So this is the difference, that he breaks the rule although, but for benefit of some other people and benefit of the entire lot as such. He is discerning, he can discern between good and the evil. And these people, because they are able to exercise they are able to support IQ and the EQ, they are creative and they are able to alter the situation and the systems. The people who are highly developed in SQ are flexible, they have more self-awareness, they are able to face the suffering better, and they transcend from pain better. They are driven by values and the vision, and they invariably have respect for any living creature, any living thing, and they refrain from bringing any unnecessary harm to any living creatures. They develop the instinct of asking why. Something happens is what? Why it has happened is because of the spiritual intelligence. When you get a solution, get a problem, you know what is there. This is basically your first level of intellect working, that is the IQ working. Then you start asking how. Then there is emotion involved in this. Then a person who is spiritually enriched, he feels as to why it has happened and what can be done so that it happens better, or if it is a bad thing which has happened, should not occur again. Now, if we understand that SI, the spiritual intelligence, is a must in today's world, then there are certain methods by which we can improve our spiritual intelligence. Excuse me. This one. Yeah, green one. No, go back. Yeah. Okay, leave it. Right. How you can improve your spiritual intelligence? Okay. You can improve your spiritual intelligence by meditation, by prayers, attending to worship services and of your choice, going in for techniques like Reiki, by whatever method you employ, and with this you develop egolessness, forgiveness, compassion, gratitude, practice non-judgment, serve others, altruism, that is unpaid help to others, faith in God or the infinite system. The positive thoughts begin to imbibe inside you, and you develop thought management system. Right. I would like to say that if a person is endowed with high SQ, he'll be a better human being, and you as managers and leaders are going to manage other human beings under you, under your command. Decision making will be more objective, clear, you will follow ethics, and you will be having optimal utilization of resources under you because you are highly evolved, and goodwill will generate in the company, the system, wherever you are working. Enhancements will be there, the profits will be there, and there will be greater satisfaction in life. So the takeaways today are, from this talk, there is a purpose of life. It is not accumulation of the material wealth. You have to embark upon the spiritual journey, no matter what misgivings people have about it. Spiritual intelligence can be developed, and enrichment and enhancement has to happen from inside to outside and not from outside to inside. And you change the belief system, and purification thoughts is what is important to you, and that comes from inside. And you begin to ask why a thing is happening and what is the solution for that. And your two enemies, ego and the fear, can be conquered by only one, that is love, your friend.